Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Simon here, the casual audiophile. And by casual, I mean the fact that I just want everybody who likes music, who likes audio gear, who likes listening to music on different gear to be able to feel at home at this channel. I am not aiming this review at hardcore audiophiles. It's like, I consider myself an audiophile. I hold plenty of opinions that I would get bashed about in audiophile forums, and I quite often do. But this is like, that's the thing with hobbies. It's if we want more people to get interested in what we are interested in, it's like we have to be accepting of the fact that people will have different opinions than we do. And yes, I am just using my phone as a mirror because, as I said, this is a casual review and not a professional one. So anyway, with that out of the way, today we're going to be looking at these, the Beats Solo Pro. Now, what better way to start an audiophile channel? Well, I've had a few videos up here before, but let's just say this is the one where that I consider like a first proper review that I'm gonna post. And what better way to do your first proper review than to look at Beats? Why? Because if you've ever been interested in like audio gear and you bounced off from the community due to like the people being very hardcore sometimes, well, chances are you've just bought yourself a pair of brand new Beats headphones because they are really popular, and you went to an audiophile forum or like Reddit/headphones, and yeah, and like you just wanted to be like, hey, I just got some new headphones, and everybody was like, the Beats are terrible. Why the fuck would you get them? Ugh, they sound awful. But they sound fun to me. No, they don't. Shut the fuck up to me. So this review is for the Jimmies who want to get into high-end audio, but don't know if like they should go all the way for the HD600s, or will a pair of Beats do the trick and sound well enough? So let's jump into the review part of it, and I am going to try and do it in one take because you may not realize it, but a lot of time has passed between this video and the last one that I made. The last one I recorded, which was the Apple SuperDrive unboxing, was in like early May, and it's like the 3rd of September right now. So it was in late May or early June, but yeah, it's the 3rd of September right now. So some months have passed. Real life issues, what you gotta do? Anyway, in that time, I've also been able to get some more knowledge about how like audio gear works. So hopefully I will be able to use this knowledge to my advantage in this video by helping you make a sound purchasing decision. And yes, I just made a terrible joke, and I am very sorry about that. And yes, I am also just talking to you while I'm trying to frame the video, which shows the degree of professionalism that I've got, which, hey, you know, like, you gotta start somewhere, isn't it? Okay then, let me just clamp the bloody useless tripod in here. Okay then, okay, lower the angle a little bit, and that should be a perfect set for our review. So let's put my keyboard and mouse out of the way, drink some good old tea, and talk about the build quality of the Beats first. Now, the build quality on those is simply excellent. They are made from really high quality matte, which is very important, plastic on the top, and this plastic just feels incredibly soft, incredibly grippy, and incredibly premium. And you've got rubber here that also just feels excellent to the touch, and it does get kind of dirty sometimes, but a quick wipe with your finger or with your shirt does the trick, and it is perfectly fine. I've had those for about a year now, almost. Or, well, more like 9 months. But yeah, like, those really show no signs of wear after almost a year of quite heavy use sometimes. And yeah, like, okay, the pads are a little bit dirty, but that's about it. Like, I am very impressed with the build quality. And also, can we talk about those pads? Now, those are like one of the nicest on-ear pads that I have ever touched. The only ones beating them are, funnily enough, the Beats EP, which is a way cheaper headphone, also by Beats. It's a wired headphone though, and this is a wireless one. So, since I mentioned the price, how much does this bad boy even cost? Well, when they came out, which was in like 2019 or 2020, I can't even remember right now. These bad boys retailed for $350 US, which was quite a lot. And now they've been regularly discounted to about $250, which, just to put it in perspective, for $350 you can get a pair of the HD 600s, which are like my reference point for just amazing sound. Those are just, they are awesome. Those are my daily driver headphones. I use them every day and I love them the most out of any pair of headphones I've ever tried. And those can also be had for $350. So, well, these guys have quite a competition going for them. So, as this is an audiophile channel, I will leave the features out of it for now. Because, yes, they are a Bluetooth headphone that works fantastically in the Apple ecosystem, which I am a part of. But this is a channel for the audiophiles. So, how does it sound? Well, surprisingly good, but also fucking terrible at the same time. I am so conflicted about this headphone. I want to love it, but sometimes I hate it, and in the end, let's see where I'm gonna land. You will know by the end of the review, but let's start with the sound signature, which is relatively neutral. Like, those guys, the HD 600s, are like the king of neutral. They are just tuned really flat. And when I say flat, I mean how it looks on a graph, which I do not look that much at frequency response graphs, because this is like a casual channel for like the people who are just trying to get into audio, and not for like the hardcore audiophiles comparing measurements. So I'm not going to talk about that, but basically these sound just about exactly how the musician wanted the music to sound like, but they do roll off a little bit in the bass, which means they do not have as much of like a sub bass slam as they could possibly have, and they also roll up a little bit in the upper treble, which means they sometimes might not sound as alive as something with better extended treble could, but overall they are quite amazingly neutral. Now these are actually quite similar for the most part, except for the fact that they actually have elevated sub bass, which is like the raw, low, deep, grumbling noise, like when you have like noise like in songs. Those are the sub bass frequencies, and they are really nicely amplified on this. And I actually enjoy that part quite a bit, because when you listen to something like rock, rap, metal, you just want the music to rattle your head a little bit, and they do that quite decently actually. And then they're fairly neutral in the mix, maybe a little bit less forward than I liked, and mids is like where most of the music lives, where the vocalists are, and where the where most of the instruments really are. And then in the treble, which treble is the part of the sound where you don't really have a lot of sounds themselves coming in the treble, but you have a lot of resonances. So for example, if you have a perfectly neutral mid-range, but the treble is a little bit rolled off, well, the music will sound as if the instrument will sound relatively correct, but it will lack that energy up in the top. And those guys, I found that they have a little bit less treble than I would like. But overall, they are quite a balanced, maybe a little bit of a very mild V-shape headphone, which is actually surprising because the Beats brand has long been associated with like really bassy headphones, like headphones that just are bass, mate. But like like Beats used to be what Raycons are nowadays, which is like fucking terrible headphones that they are just all bass and and are only propped up by hype and marketing. But those guys, they are not that. And there's nothing wrong with a bassy set. I have quite a few sets that are more bassy than this that I still enjoy as an audiophile. You have to understand, the fact that you're an audiophile does not mean that you only have to like flat and balanced headphones. You can also love your bass, and I for sure love my bass. And sometimes I would even like boost the bass a little bit on this. Like I would actually boost the bass on Beats as an audiophile. So this gives you a pretty good indication of the fact that, hey, those are fairly well tuned. But there is one fatal flaw that I observed while using them day to day, because actually those were the first time that I spent more than AirPods money on headphones. So I've had them for quite some time. I started my audiophile journey like last year. I had stuff like the Porta Pros and stuff, then some IEMs, but then I got these. And I was quite impressed by the tonality, but one part of those that I really hate is the technical performance. Now, the worst part is like when you put the volume real high, they have actually quite decent technicalities. There's some instrument separation. The bass hits well, and it's quite well defined. There's quite a bit of detail in the bass, and the mid-range, while it's not really detailed, it's like it's like a really nice. It's also not like it's not lacking in detail. It's like, it's hard to describe. It's the technical performance when you turn the volume up is quite good. Now, my problem with this is the level of volume that I'm talking that's necessary to achieve like those really good technicalities is like really fucking high. Like, I listen to music quite loud, but even at my like desired listening level that I'm comfortable to listen to for longer periods of time, like those start to lose their technicalities quite a bit. Now, my theory about it is that they have really good drivers, which is like the part of the headphone that makes the sound, but really shitty internal amplifiers. Because like all headphones need amplification to make sounds, right? Now, most headphones just run fine out of the integrated amplifier in something like your phone or your computer or whatever device that you're using. And some, like the HD600s, need a dedicated amp, like the Shit Magni that I have right here. And yes, it's the company's actually named Shit. We'll get to it when we get to it. Okay then. So, is it still recording? It is. Fantastic. Anyway, well, wireless headphones don't have the luxury of being powered by an external power source, so they have to make their own power. Now, somewhere in there, in those ear cups, you've got tiny little amplifiers feeding power to drivers to make sound. And I am willing to wager that those amplifiers are complete garbage. Like, they are pretty bad. Because, you know, when you crank them up high, they just do make those drivers sound nice. So those drivers are capable of good technical performance, but, like, you know, the level of detail decreases drastically. It goes from like a, I don't know, like a B tier detail retrieval, which is pretty good, to like a fucking E tier detail retrieval at lower volumes. It's really bad. And even worse than the detail is the instrument separation, which is like the feeling that different instruments have different places for themselves and they don't overlap with each other. Now, when you decrease the volume on these, it just makes a soup of sound, as I like to call it, which is a very prevalent thing in cheaper headphones. But this is not cheap at all. It costs at least 250 US dollars, right? I bought it for like 900 Polish zlotys, which is like, yeah, somewhere in the ballpark of $200, but I got a really sweet deal on those. And the technical performance for the money is like really bad. Like, for example, I have the KZ ZSN Pro X. Let me see if I have them somewhere. Yeah, I do. Now, those are like IEMs, those tiny little things, yeah? And they are wired, of course. So it's hard to compare the cost. But those things cost me 90 Polish zlotys, so like $20. They have way better technicalities than the Beats. Now, that's pretty sad, honestly. Like, I want to love this headphone because it's tuned so well, and when I just use it to listen to some music in the background while doing chores around my house, it's actually very nice and very engaging, because, you know, like when I'm doing chores, I listen to a bit of a higher volume, and then they sound quite good. But when I want to like really sit down and listen to music, they just fall apart, which is sad, because I wanted to like those things, because damn, they are pretty. Like with this, especially with this like white and gold finish, and there's also like a matte red finish that, oh my god, is so beautiful. But sadly, I just can't recommend them if you want to just like have a pair of headphones that's like dedicated to listening to music. Now, leaving the sound portion, I have to touch a bit on the features, because those things work insanely well with iPhones. They also work with Android phones and PCs and shit, but the way they work in the Apple ecosystem is just amazing. So the way you power them off is you just fold them. The way you power them on is you just unfold them. And as soon as you do, they are like instantly on and paired to all of your Apple devices. So I can switch seamlessly from like, you know, listening to music on my iPhone. I get home, I lay on the bed, I start browsing YouTube on my iPad, I play a video, and at that moment, the music on my phone stops. They switch to the iPad and play the sound from the YouTube video instantly. It just works super, super well. They also have active noise cancellation, which is pretty darn good. Like, honestly, the noise cancellation on those is amazing. I live right next to a construction site, and those are able to cancel all of the construction noise. And when I'm playing music, like, I can even have a kettle boiling water right next to me, and they are able to cancel that. So that's really impressive. Now, they also have a transparency mode, which is also quite nice. It's not as good as the AirPods Pro transparency mode, but it gets pretty close. Now, just like with the sound, the noise cancellation has a big fucking drawback. The thing that just like kills them as outdoor headphones for me is when you have noise cancellation turned on or transparency mode turned on, like the sound of the wind gets amplified and relates straight to your ears. So when it's windy outside, you just hear like going into your ears all the time, and it's honestly so bloody frustrating. Like if they didn't have this problem, I would call them like the best ANC headphones that I've tried. And I've tried the Sonys, I've tried the Bang & Olufsen H9Is. I didn't try the Bose stuff, so there is that. But I would call them the best noise cancelling headphones. But I just can't, because you can't use the noise cancellation outside. It's like, why? Oh, you know, like why Dr. Dre? Why did you fuck up so badly? It's like, oh, fuck you, Dr. Dre. All right. Now, before I end this review and give them a rating, let's touch on the actually, I didn't talk about the playback controls. They actually have a button built into the side. You press it once to play, you press it to pause, you press twice to do the next song, 3 times to skip back, and you press up or down to change the volume. And you can also hold it for Siri, or you can just say, hey Siri, to activate Siri, which is pretty nice. And I just activated Siri on all of your phones, and fuck you. You deserve that. You probably did something bad today, so, you know, deal with it. They charge via Lightning, which is, but they have a 40 hours battery life, which is bloody amazing. And they actually do hit that figure quite regularly for me. Flawless battery life. And also they have this button which is responsible for switching between noise cancellation and transparency mode, and also pairing the device. So really simple controls, really good ones though. No touch controls, thank fuck. And yeah, speaking of comfort, those things are weird. Like, I have a small head, so I find them quite comfortable. They clamp quite hard, but I don't mind, because they are kept secure on my head, which is nice. And they also regulate really well. Like, just for example, I listen to them like these, like this. So a person with a bigger head could stretch them all the way to this. So they are in theory pretty comfortable. Now, the problem is, because of the high clamp force and the on-ear factor, if you're wearing a mask with them, or if you're wearing glasses with them, as I've started recently, they stop being as good as they possibly could be, which is like, oh god, it's fucking kill me. Why is Dr. Dre such an idiot? Like, he could have made like the perfect wireless headphone, but he made like 3 major fuck-ups, which is like the form factor, the shitty internal amplification, and the shitty wind noise amplification, which is like, alone, I would still recommend those. If they have any of those 3 issues alone, I would still be able to recommend those quite nicely. But because they have like all of those issues combined, it's really hard for me to recommend them. Like, my use case for those would be gym headphones, if you're into exercising with like on-ear headphones, which some people are. I'm not. I prefer like IEM style headphones at the gym. And another use case would be just like noise cancelling headphones for the office or walking around the house, if you're not wearing glasses or a mask, which is a pretty narrow use case. So anyway, let's get to the rating. Now, I have 2 rating systems. First one is a tier list, which I will soon create a website and link it in the description, which will show like all the headphones that I reviewed, as well as my like 2 benchmarks, which is like AirPods are like the C tier benchmark, which is like the benchmark of good. Anything above the AirPods is pretty good, and anything below the AirPods is probably not that great sounding. And the tier list covers sound alone, regardless of the price point. Now, the other system that I used is a 5-star rating system that just talks about if I recommend them, and this system takes into account features, comfort, like price, all those sorts of things, the competition. So on my tier list, well, I actually have 2 categories, right? Which is like tonality or the tuning of the headphones, and and technical performance. Now, I will give these an A in tonality, because they are honestly tuned almost as well as my HD600s, which is quite an achievement. I don't like the sound of those as well as much as I like my HD600s, even regardless of the technicalities. But I still have to recognize the fact that they are tuned really well, and some people might actually prefer these over the Senis, which is quite a feat. But in terms of the technical performance, well, they are, you know, if you turn the volume really loud, a like B-. If you listen at a normal volume, like an E+. So I have no other choice but to give them a D. And yeah, like I will put them on like a D+ tier, which means as much as like they can sound better than the AirPods, I don't think they consistently do. So they are like worse than AirPods, which is not a stellar recommendation for the sound. But in my star rating system, I will actually go ahead and give them 3 stars. Now, if you can live with the limitations that these guys have, they are pretty decent buy for the price. Like, if you're coming from another consumer headphone like the AirPods, for example, you won't notice the like lacking technicalities as much, and you might be able to enjoy them. So yeah, there you go. Beats by Dre get 3 stars. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm really happy if you stuck around this long to the end of the video. If you did, please like drop a like and do all these sorts of things. Now, I am not like a full-time YouTuber. I have a job, so I'm not gonna be like begging for your subscriptions, all right? But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna play a game with you. The game is called Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I choose one of the 3, you choose one of the 3, and if I beat you, you have to subscribe. Those are the rules. So 1, 2, 3. I choose scissors. If you choose paper, you gotta subscribe. Those are the rules. And if you stuck around to the end of the video, leave a comment that's saying Apple in the comment section. Just do the algorithm things, because like this video is likely going to be demonetized because I swear in it. I don't really care, but you know, like I'm not planning on making money from YouTube, but like the algorithm will not even recommend you this video if like it doesn't get engagement, and it's less likely to get engagement if it's demonetized. So, you know, go forth and do things. And I hope that the next video I record will not take me as much time, because I actually have a formed conclusion on the next item, which I'll just show you a sneak peek of. The next review is going to be those. The Blown BL03, kind of a legend in the audiophile, in the budget audiophile community. So, do I like them? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out hopefully next week. I am not making any promise. So anyway, I've dragged on this video for far too long. See you around.